I'm going to show y'all how I make my favorite Brunswick stew. Now my recipe, it calls for chicken, but I always make this the day after Thanksgiving with my leftover turkey, and you cannot tell the difference whether it is chicken or turkey inside of it. Now you can get the printable version of my recipe on my website, mrshappyhomemaker.com. I have been making this same recipe for, gosh, over 20 years now. Another great thing about this recipe is that it freezes beautifully. So no problem if you're making up a ton of it, put the rest of it in the freezer and then heat it up later for quick and easy meals. So here in my pot, I'm gonna add a little bit of vegetable oil, or excuse me, extra virgin olive oil, but you can also use vegetable oil or butter. And I'm gonna let this heat up for a second, and then I'm gonna saute up these onions and bell peppers. So I have 2 medium onions chopped up and 1 small bell pepper chopped up. Now I'm going to season it with a little bit of salt and pepper just to help them sweat it out, and I'm going to cook these until they are nice and translucent, probably a little bit slightly or golden brown because I like a little bit of color in my onions. And now I'm going to add my leftover turkey. This is about 6 cups worth. If you don't have 6 cups of leftover turkey or cooked chicken, you can use less, you can use more. I've made this with as little as 3 cups of meat before, but 6 cups is what I've got, or around there. I didn't actually measure it. I'm just kind of looking at it and seeing. Now I'm going to add 3 cans of diced tomatoes. My original recipe calls for 16 ounces, but these are 15-ounce cans, and that will work just fine. 8 ounces of tomato sauce. A 1/4 cup of white sugar. It's not going to be sweet. That's just going to break down some of the acidity from those tomatoes. 3 tablespoons of white vinegar. And I've got some Worcestershire sauce, and I'm going to add about 5 tablespoons worth of that. 3, 4, 5. And I'm just going to stir this up and let it get warm. I've got a cup of chicken stock here in my measuring cup, and to that I am going to add 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, and I'm just going to stir this up with my fork and combine it. And now I'm just going to pour this into my stew and stir that up to combine it. And this is what it's looking like so far. I've got about a pound of potatoes that I have peeled and cubed into about 1/2 inch cubes. And I'm going to add that in. I've got a can of baked beans. I'm going to pour that in. I'm going to add in a couple of tablespoons of hot sauce and some salt and pepper to taste. I'm going to stir this all up to combine it. And this is what it is looking like so far. Okay, so I am going to pop a lid on this, and I'm going to cook this over medium heat for about 45 minutes, stirring occasionally, and then I will come back and add a few more ingredients and let it cook a little bit longer, and then we'll be done. So stay tuned. And that is what it is looking like. Let's go ahead and add the rest of the ingredients. Now I'm going to add 1 can of drained corn. This is a 15-ounce can. And a 15-ounce can of lima beans drained. Now I have to have barbecue sauce in my Brunswick stew. It's just what makes it for me. My favorite type of barbecue sauce to use in this is just original Sweet Baby Ray's. I personally like to add a cup or a little bit more. So barbecue sauce to taste. You can start off at a 1/2 cup and keep adding more as you like. But me, I know I like at least a cup in there. I'm going to let this cook for about another 10 or 15 minutes just to allow those last flavors to meld, and then it is time to serve it up. And this is what my stew is looking like, my Brunswick stew. And like I said earlier in the video, this is my absolute favorite Brunswick stew in the entire world. And I developed this about 20 years ago. I just kind of played around with it and played around with it until I came up with a Brunswick stew that I felt would rock my socks off. Look at that stew, you guys. Oh my goodness. It is time to eat.